Oh, someone's telling me Beyonce just commented on my live. I better thank her for that. Otherwise, conspiracy stuff. Okay, my sister is logged on, so I will get started. So, hi, I'm Amber from Influencer Updates on Instagram, and tonight I'm going to be talking about Christie Swadling's pregnancy, Mik Testa's engagement, and Steph Smith's ADHD diagnosis. So the first story is Christie Swadling. As I just mentioned, she announced this week that she is now pregnant. So she did announce it with a very controversial video. The video was herself and her fiance, Joel. They were standing on a beach, and in the camera, I've got this photo. So the camera was facing a mirror, and the mirror was leaned up against a rock, and Christie went up to the mirror and laid down some red roses on the sand in front of the mirror. And the mirror said, "Baby Price, due May 2025. And it's kind of hard to read because it's white text on the mirror and the background behind them is very bright. And a lot of people mistook this for a funeral post, and they were thinking that maybe they had lost a baby and were announcing that they had lost a baby. But then immediately they were realizing it was actually a pregnancy announcement. So it was very mixed emotions. It was very sad for her, and then it was suddenly, yes, this is really exciting for her. But yes, it is a pregnancy announcement. There were some other photos as well that were much more obvious. And yeah, it's very exciting. She has been open about her trying to conceive journey. She's been undergoing fertility treatment. I'm unsure exactly what. She has been open about it, but I haven't followed along closely enough. But in recent weeks, this has been very obvious if you do watch her stories. So on the 3rd of October, which was about 3 weeks ago, she posted a gift basket that she'd received from a friend with some flowers. And in the gift basket was a baby towel and baby face washes and things. And there was no explanation. It just said, "I love my friends." And then the next day, or maybe even the same day, she posted a picture of some toast that she was having for breakfast and some scrambled eggs with 2 jars of pickles in the background. And I guess most people would know that during pregnancy, people often crave things that they wouldn't normally crave, and pickles is a very common one. So she had captioned that one, "Me and pickles right now," and then the little love heart emoji. So they to me were sort of oh, okay, is Christie pregnant? But I wouldn't expect an influencer to sort of reveal it so casually because, they always like to make a big announcement out of it. And then 10 days later, I've done another post. This is for subscribers. Again, she'd posted a picture of toast with pickles, and it had a question over it saying, "A few people have commented saying you have a baby bump. Is this true?" And she wrote back, "This is currently every question right now." So this was for her Q&A. So she didn't answer the question. She didn't deny it, but she chose to put the pickles photo as the background. So to me, that was confirmation that she is, and she's just not ready to say yet. And another question in the Q&A was, did you get your boobs done another time? They are looking pumping. And she wrote, "Nope, but yes, they've grown, LOL," which again, a very common pregnancy indicator is that your boobs do get bigger very early on before you start to grow in other areas, I suppose. So yeah, I guess that she'd been alluding to a pregnancy for quite a few weeks, and then yes, she has now announced that she is pregnant. There was an AVO situation a few months ago where a police officer lodged an AVO on Christie's behalf against her partner Joel, and I don't know what the outcome of that AVO is. I haven't looked into it enough, but you can get an AVO against a domestic partner. So that doesn't mean they've broken up. I don't believe they ever broke up. It just means that an AVO was put against him, that he can't do certain things to her, even though they live together. And they do also have a boy already. So Christie has a stepson who is Joel's son from a previous relationship, and his name is Caden, and I think he's 14. Yeah, I think he's 14 now, and he runs a lolly business at his school. Just a fun fact. All right, so the second story is Mik Testa. So her engagement, this one came as a very big surprise. So I posted publicly maybe a week ago that she had done a Q&A, Mik Testa had done a Q&A, and one of the questions was, how did you and Max meet? So we knew she had this boyfriend, Max. We want to hear about your story. You guys look so cute together. And she explained in the Q&A that She used to always see his Instagram reels, and so back in 2022, she sent him a DM on Instagram. They then texted throughout 2023, and he was always telling me he wanted to come to Australia after college. He takes all these extra classes and expedites and somehow graduates a year earlier, and we end up meeting on my birthday in Japan, and we have been together ever since. So her birthday was this year in March, so it sounds like they met in person this year in March and are now engaged, and they got engaged back in Japan. He tried to take her out to the restaurant where they met. I think this is what she said, but she wanted to stay in, so they just got engaged in the hotel room, which she was very, very happy with. So it's a very cute story. Everybody's very happy for Mik, especially after her very public breakup with Addis Paul, who is Anna Paul's brother. And yeah, now she has found love. I think she's still quite young. I believe she's still only Anna's 25, so I think she'd be about 24. It's probably a bit hard to see. This is the ring. So it is like a big solitaire diamond, but then it's got like more diamonds on the band. But yeah, that looks beautiful and sparkling. It looks like it fits her too, so that's pretty convenient. Other Mik Testa news is... Okay, she has been advocating this week she's been spreading awareness of the campaign for a treaty for Australia's First Nations people. So with the Royals visiting Australia, there's been a lot of people campaigning saying we want this treaty where Australia's First Nations people are recognised as their own political, not party, I'm not sure exactly, but they want to be like recognised as their own entity sort of thing and not have to necessarily comply with all of the British monarchy rules. And apparently it's very common that most First Nations people in other countries have this treaty, but it's weird that Australia doesn't have it. So she's been advocating and spreading awareness for that. And she actually spread the awareness to me. I know more about this now than I did before she spread it. So that is good. So she explained here about, colonization and everything, because she's got a lot of American followers, so she had to explain it to them. She went on to explain that she is an Australian First Nations girlie with a British grandma and Torres Strait grandfather that created a mother that was born during the stolen generation, and that she feels she has to speak on this, #NotMyKing. So that's the hashtag they're using to revolt, I guess, against the British monarchy. And she also suggested for education that people watch Rabbit Proof Fence, which is on Netflix, which, I remember watching that movie in school. We watched it quite a few times, and it goes on about the stolen land and the stolen generation. So I think that's really good that she's raising awareness for that. All right, the third story I've got here is Steph Claire Smith and her ADHD diagnosis. Okay, this one has come with a lot of mixed feelings. So I will quickly summarise her podcast. So she had been baiting, I suppose, that this big news was coming up in an upcoming podcast, which was released on Monday, just gone. And she'd been saying, it's some life-changing news, and it's really just, it's something that's happened to her, but it's really just beginning. The way she was baiting it, people were thinking it was relationship troubles, because there's been a few other clues about relationship troubles, especially with Josh's recent trip to Ibiza with the boys. Then she was posting some sort of cryptic things after that, and people were suspecting that. I knew it wasn't going to be that, because even if there were relationship trouble, she's not just going to go on her podcast and tell us everything. I also knew that it wasn't going to be something as life-changing as what she was letting on, because I feel like influencers always do this, where they say, I've got this big news, and then it's always okay, it's not really that big. But of course it is big for her, no doubt. She explained that it was about a year, this process of getting diagnosed with ADHD. So it started with an online test, and then it was a Zoom call with a psychologist, and then 2 more appointments. I'm not sure if they were Zoom or in person. And so 3 appointments all up, plus a online test. And then now she's got her diagnosis as she has ADHD combined. So there's 3 types of ADHD. One of them is inattentive, when you can't concentrate sort of thing. One of them is hyperactive, where you can't sit still. And then the third one is combined, which is both of them. So she's saying that she's been diagnosed with ADHD combined. And what else has she said here? I suppose she's been on the Today Show talking about it. It was just interesting that she was saying to everybody, you know, like, it's so hard for me to talk about it. I don't know if I should share this. And then all of a sudden she's on her podcast, she's on her stories, like advocating for people with ADHD. She's on the Today Show. So I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe she's changed her mind. Maybe she liked the feedback she got from the podcast and then decided, okay, I'm going to really talk about this, which would be a good thing. What else have I got here? Oh yeah, so I mentioned during the week publicly, I put on my stories that I think that from a marketing perspective, this was a really good move to like bait that this live update was coming. Everybody knew, you know, we've got to listen to the Kick Pod on Monday morning. So yeah, I think that was really good marketing, but people were expecting something dramatic and then they were a bit like, oh, okay, well, you know, so many influencers have this. It's not really that big of news, which is also a good thing. It means that ADHD has become normalized in the way that people don't judge anymore. Like they're like, oh yeah, Steph's got ADHD, so does everyone. Like that's an easy thing for people to comprehend and understand, which is a really good thing. And yeah, so she was on her stories advocating for people with ADHD, saying she hates when she's told that everyone has some sort of level of ADHD and that just dismisses the struggles of all the people that do have it. And I thought that was really interesting because I do hear that all the time. I don't have ADHD, but I mean, I hear other people say it. And yeah, that educated me that, yeah, that's not a nice thing to say and it does dismiss the struggles. I thought that was really interesting. And it's also really interesting because a lot of the time people, I think that they feel like Steph lives a really privileged life. Like she's obviously very typically attractive. She's obviously very rich. She's got great friendships, a great business, a great husband, great child. And people don't like to hear privileged people crying about their struggles. So I think that a lot of people felt a bit off about that. But, you know, it just shows that, yeah, you may seem to have it all, but there are still going to be struggles. But I think overall her way of putting this information out there was extremely dramatic. Like, yeah, like I said, it was on every sort of channel that she could possibly speak about it on. She was crying. People were saying, you know, they've been diagnosed with ADHD and it was nothing like this, like the reaction. But, you know, everyone does react differently. And then other people were saying she's acting like she's been diagnosed with terminal cancer with all of the tears and everything. But I guess that is just her way of reacting. And I suppose we can't decide how somebody reacts to this sort of news. But yeah, I believe she said there's also some sort of relief in getting this diagnosis because it explains a lot of her childhood. The only other thing I've got here about Steph is that she was meant to have a kick run club in Melbourne. When was this? This was last weekend. She was going to do the kick run club and her and Laura were going to appear there and New Balance was like hosting it and there were going to be these activations and prizes and things. And somebody wrote in the Outspoken Facebook group that they cancelled it 10 minutes before and said, you know, the run will still go ahead, but all the activations aren't happening and Steph and Laura aren't going to be there. And they were disappointed that it was like 10 minutes notice. Like they were already there, ready to go. And they found it interesting that Steph then just like posted a photo of her breakfast like half an hour later, thinking that maybe they all knew well in advance that it wasn't going to be happening. And this fan felt really disappointed that they'd been told so last minute. But yeah, that was just a little bit of a feedback thing on that one. I thought that was interesting. And yeah, I do feel like that is poor form if they did only give everyone 10 minutes notice, but it is what it is, I suppose. That's what happened. All right, so let's go through the questions. This shirt on you is so iconic. Does that mean I've worn it a lot? Maybe that's what it means. Okay, sorry, I've got to remember what we're talking about first. Oh yeah, so Christie Swadling. Oh yeah, people are happy for her. Oh, hang on, it's all just gone straight to Steph Claire Smith. That's interesting. Maybe people knew I was going to talk about that. People are saying that she shouldn't have clickbaited us. I don't think that she shouldn't have. I mean, it is all just marketing at the end of the day, and yeah, I mean, it worked to get us all to watch it, and it's not like she ripped us off or anything. It's not like we were paying to listen to it. It is a free podcast, and yeah, I don't think it's bad that she clickbaited us. I think it was actually exciting. Kind of like how Sarah's Day has been like really ramping up this name reveal, which she just revealed earlier today, is Harlow Jonah. Judah. Harlow Judah is her new baby boy. But yeah, she's been like really ramping it up, and I don't think that that's bad to be clickbaiting people. I actually really like clickbait. I really like how the Daily Mail clickbaits, and like you go on their website and everything's just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like you just want to read everything. They do a really good job of it. This person saying ADHD is overdiagnosed. Yeah, okay. Well, not sure about that. I think that if a diagnosis helps somebody, well then that's not going to be a bad thing. Yeah. It's no wonder Steph is on the Forbes rich list. She's smart about getting attention. Exactly. She is a great businesswoman and she knows that she needs to market herself, and this is what she's done. This person's saying that everyone wants to know if they have ADHD. It's interesting you say that, because since I broke this, well, I didn't break the story about the ADHD, but since I posted about it, a lot of people have been messaging me with their own ADHD stories, and I personally don't have ADHD and don't relate to any of the ADHD conversations. Like I definitely don't have it, but it's funny, like I posted about how I listen to podcasts in 2-speed, and everyone, like not everyone, but quite a few people messaged me and they're like, oh, that's a sign of ADHD, like you should get tested for it. And I'm like, well, it might be one small sign, but I definitely don't have it. It's just, yeah, everyone wants to know if they have it, but you can do online tests, and I have done them in the past for absolutely no reason, and I definitely don't have it. But other people I know have done it, and it does show that they have it. But some of them have gone on to then get diagnosed, and yeah, just do what you want to do, you know? Every second influencer has ADHD these days. I think that's probably true, but also I think that maybe it is common with creative people to have ADHD. So maybe that is why, because influencers are creatives. They're creating content. Yes, can we talk about Jackie O's announcement, which is huge news? This to me was some of the biggest news of the week. It's not really influencer, I suppose. That's why it hasn't sort of come up much. But she's more of a celebrity. But Jackie O announced this week on her radio show that at the end of 2022, she finished up work early for the year because she couldn't handle work anymore, because she didn't think she was going to survive any longer, because she had a drug and substance abuse problem. So I'm just trying to remember. I just don't want to get the facts wrong. But at the end of 2022, she finished work a few weeks early, and she told The Nation and Kyle, her co-host, that she was finishing because she has long COVID and that she's just very fatigued and she needs to have a break. But we now know, because she read an excerpt from her upcoming autobiography, we now know that she actually had a drug and alcohol, not alcohol. It was a sleeping pill and alcohol and painkiller dependency. So she was taking Panadeine Forte, sleeping pills, and then drinking alcohol. And I guess knocking herself out. But she ended up going to the Betty Ford Center in California and doing like their 12-step program over 28 days. And this must have been 2 years ago, and she is okay now. She has obviously come out of that, and she is better and recovered. So that is really, really great. But yeah, it is so unexpected. I did not expect this to come from her at all. And everyone just believed she had long COVID, and she was a bit of an advocate for it at the time because it was all like a big new thing. But yeah, that's that. I suppose she does breakfast radio, so maybe she was getting up super early and then going home after work and then doing this drug and sleeping pills thing and knocking herself out until the next day. I'm not sure, because yeah, she did still maintain like a career and she had a child to look after, and yeah, she hit that really well, I suppose. What else is there? Well, this person's conflicted about her recent news. Yeah, I'm not sure what the conflict would be there. Everyone's concentration span is short due to constant scrolling. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that is part of the reason why I listen to podcasts on 2-speed, because I find if anything's too slow, I'm bored. Like my mind starts to think about other things. So I need it to be like really fast so that I have to focus. I'm really, really fast at reading books as well though. Like I can just read it really, really, really fast and I can take in all the information. It's a good skill though. What else is saying? why has Jackie O announced this news now? That is because she is about to release an autobiography, and she's going to talk about that a bit more in her autobiography. Have you already discussed Sarah's Days Baby news? Just briefly, I mentioned that, yeah, she has decided on the name Harlow Judah. And yeah, the clues, I posted on my public stories today that she had posted like the salute and the mountain. And when I Googled the meaning of Harlow, it did say Army Hill. So I'm thinking that's where she's got those clues from. But someone was saying that Harlow Mountain is a mountain in America, so maybe that was part of it. I really thought the middle name was going to be Blues. She had said that she wanted a one-syllable name, and she'd posted 3 blue emojis. So I'm wondering if Blues was the name she wanted, but then Kurt decided no, he didn't want that name. Blues is Justin Bieber's baby's middle name. Can you speak on the Harris family? Yeah, I can speak on them. So the Harris family have a young daughter, Daisy, who has been in hospital with multiple brain tumours, and she can't even be awake for more than about an hour. This has been happening for a few months, and she started up a GoFundMe account so that everyone could help support the family because they weren't able to work and they had to stay away from home and things to look after Daisy in the hospital. And yeah, so they had the GoFundMe, and then recently, I think about 2 weeks ago now, Alana Harris, she just shut down the Instagram completely. Everyone who was subscribed to her, like, they got a notification saying your subscription is now cancelled. They turned off all the TikTok comments. They turned off the GoFundMe account, and everybody was thinking the worst. And then one of their friends posted like a little update. It was just like a photo of Alana and Daisy saying, thank you for all the support. They are absolutely fine. And everybody was just like so relieved. So yes, at this point, everything is still okay, but unsure why they've turned off all the social media. Maybe it was just getting too much for them with all of the criticism and even all of the support. Like, it would just be a lot having to go through hundreds of messages a day, but I'm guessing that's why they've turned it off, and they need to just like focus on their life, not on their social media. But it was their income, so yeah, I'm not sure what they'd be doing for income now, because they've also mentioned that Alana's husband can't work due to medical reasons. So it's just a really tough time for them. What else have we got? Didn't Steph say she had COVID on her stories? No, I don't believe so. Did you see the Daily Mail article on the Kearnses and you were referencing it? No, I didn't. I'll have to go have a look at that later. That must be about, somebody wrote in the Q&A recently that they think they wrote something about child neglect. They said, what do you think of adult influencers going to Disneyland without their children, especially ones that complain they were neglected as a child? And I found out later that this is about the Kearnses. They are currently in America and they went to Disneyland. They're there for a 40th birthday. They're there with 2 other couples. They all renewed their vows in Vegas, and then they all went to Disneyland just as like part of the trip before they go home. And this person thinks that that is not okay. And I disagree. I think, well, if you're over there, go with your kids. Even if you're not over there, like, go without your kids. But I don't think that is neglecting your children by not taking them to Disneyland. And I wrote on my stories that I think that these children, as children of influencers, probably get a lot of great opportunities. And I'm sure they're not neglected at all. And yeah, I still think it's okay to go to Disneyland without your kids. And I'm sure that they'll get to go to Disneyland eventually. But yeah, apparently that's a very controversial opinion. Someone here is saying if they had to work with Kyle Sandilands, they'd be taking drugs too. They do seem like very good friends. Thoughts on So Dramatic's podcast about Matt and Tammy and Anna? Whoa, that was a very detailed podcast. The things I found the most interesting were the dated things. So like Jen, Matt's ex, posted a video that she and Matt had gone away for her birthday. Even though they were exes, they'd gone away for her birthday, and she posted that on the 24th of August, 23. Yeah, 23. And then Matt's first date with Tammy was the 2nd of September. So that was only a week later, and I would assume they were talking for at least a week. Maybe they weren't. But yeah, it seemed like there was like a slight crossover there, potentially. But then, like I said, they were exes. They weren't in a relationship. But to go away for her birthday together seems like maybe something was going to come back together, maybe. Not sure. But yeah, I found that really interesting. And that when, like, Matt's told the story of how, you know, it was suggested that Tammy goes to the live podcast, and he personally invited her, and he hadn't heard of her before then. But then, like, there was a recording of an influencer on their podcast, a celebrity, Chase from Too Hot to Handle. He'd been on their podcast a few months earlier, and he was like playing a voicemail that he'd sent Tammy Hembrow and saying he wanted to meet her and stuff. So yeah, he definitely talked about her on the podcast. So Matt would know who she is. And also I remember I had been on their podcast and spoken about Tammy and her breakup with Matt Poole. So yeah, I feel like he did know who she was, but maybe he sort of meant like he didn't know properly. I could kind of see maybe that's what he meant. But yeah, there were a lot of very interesting things in that podcast. A lot of them were just like, you know, someone has sent this in. So yeah, I mean, I guess we just have to believe what we want to believe. But yeah, let's hope it works out for them. This person saying, unless you have ADHD, you can't really understand how debilitating it can be. I definitely agree with that. It also makes you super sensitive, which can explain Steph's emotional state. Yeah, okay, that is a really good point. That would explain it. Yeah, there was a lot of tea in the So Dramatic episode. Definitely go listen to it if you're interested in Tammy and Matt. Did you hear the news of Beck Judd outing her son's teacher for not bringing a gift to school? Not cool. Outing her son's teacher for not bringing a gift to school. No. Definitely message me about that one. Steph did post on her stories that she had COVID just the other day. Oh. Yeah, well, she didn't say that was the reason for not going to the run, but yeah, okay. Oh, sorry, I've been talking for 27 minutes. I'll try and wrap it up. Yeah, this person's agreeing that Matt saying that he doesn't know who Tammy is complete BS. I love your open-minded approach. Thank you. I really always try and see things from like a marketing perspective and an influencer's personal perspective and an audience perspective. And I try not to just spread hate, if that makes sense, because I know that a lot of the time, like those tattle forums, for example, you go on there and if you read hate about a person, you just start to believe it. And then you get in that mindset of hating the person. Whereas I try to sort of spread more sort of factual, neutral stuff about people so that more people will feel neutral about the influencers. I don't know. I just think that that's a good approach. And yeah, I don't want to spend my life hating on influencers and spending my days looking for things to hate them for. So that is why I try to do that. All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in, and I'm going to end it now. And if I haven't answered your question, please send me a DM and we'll talk about it in there. And I will see you all soon. Thank you. Bye.